Okay, so we're just going to discuss AT10, the research report about diabetes. Okay, so there's 7 questions in this assessment task, and it must not exceed 500 words, so no more than 500 words. Okay, so question 1, we just want you to outline the anatomy and physiology and pathophysiology of diabetes, including so for type 1, type 2 and gestational diabetes. So for each of these A, B and C, I'd like a paragraph. Okay, so a paragraph would be probably 4 or 5 sentences, okay, about each type of diabetes. Okay. Question 2, briefly describe the pathophysiology of the following conditions and identify potential problems related to nursing care. So for each point, A through to I, we're looking for a couple of sentences for each. Okay, so we're looking at describing the pathophysiology, 1, so a couple of sentences on 1 sentence. For hypoglycemia, describe the pathophysiology of what's happening, and then in the secondary sentence, identify potential problems. Okay, and you do that for each letter. For hyperglycemia, ketoacidosis, hyperosmolar, non-ketotic coma, retinopathy, infection, psychosocial, microvascular disease, macrovascular disease. Okay, for each one of those, you're going to describe the pathophysiology and then identify potential problems, okay, relating to nursing care. All right, so number 3, we're looking at identify the expected outcomes of the following health promotion goals for people with diabetes. Okay, so what we're going to do for this question, you need to break it down, each dot point, you need to break down into 3 areas. Okay, so for exercise, we want you to identify an exercise goal and then identify an expected outcome of that exercise goal, and then give instructions. What will the patient do to achieve the outcomes? Okay, so you can see here we've got expected outcomes and goals, and then we want you to also make clear how the patient will achieve the expected outcomes. Okay, so again, for question 3, for each of those dot points, exercise, diabetic diet, weight loss, smoking cessation, foot and eye care, we want you to identify an exercise goal. Tell us what you think the expected outcome should be from the goal and what the patient will do to achieve the exercise goal. Then do the same thing for diabetic diet, the same thing for weight loss, the same thing for smoking cessation, same thing for foot and eye care. Okay, question 4, outline 3 diabetes management and care services that are available for diabetic persons and their families' carers. Okay, so here we want you to tell us 3 different services that are available to manage diabetes, to help assist people to manage diabetes. Okay, then part B of that, it just says identify 2 issues for diabetes care delivery in Australia. So essentially, what are the barriers to care? Okay, what are the barriers to care in looking after and managing diabetes, and why are they barriers? Why is it a problem? Why is it an issue? Okay, so 2 issues, you're going to tell us what the barriers or issues are and why they're a barrier. Okay. Question 5, describe the possible impact of diabetes on a person's self-esteem. So that's first part of a question. Tell us what it feels like to have a chronic disease like diabetes. What might it feel like and how might it make them feel in their personal self-esteem? And then secondary to the question, list 2 supportive nursing interventions that an enrolled nurse can implement. Okay, so how can you, when caring for somebody with diabetes who may have a poor self-esteem around their diabetes, What can you do as a nurse? What sort of supportive measures can you implement that might actually assist their well-being? Okay, question 6. Discuss the underlying environmental and social factors contributing to diabetes in Australia. Okay, I think that is fairly self-explanatory. Remember what environmental means? So the environment you live in. What are the things in the environment, and then what are the social issues? We've discussed a lot of this terminology we've used a lot through cluster 3 and cluster 4. So if you haven't got a good grasp of what environmental and social factors might be by now, you need to ask one of the trainers. Number 7, explain why diabetes is experienced at higher rates in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Now this is probably a little bit of an overhang from cluster 4. So this question should come easy from some of the research and information you've done with some assessment tasks in cluster 4. And that's the finish.